So in this section, we're going to talk about the functions of management. The main thing that we're going to cover today is what managers do. And Luther Gulick came up with this anagram of POSCORB. So what managers do is they plan, organize, staff, direct, coordinate, report, and budget. But the main thing that we're going to talk about in this section is budgeting. So one thing to remember is that the most important long-term planning function for front office managers is front office budgeting. In order to do a front office budget, front office managers, FOMs, need to be able to forecast room revenue, and they also need to be able to estimate expenses. So these are the two components of front office budgeting. In order to come up with your budget, you need to figure out how much revenue you're going to generate on an annual basis. So the calculation for forecasting room revenue is rooms available, and rooms available is the number of total rooms in the hotel times 365 days, because this is annually, times occupancy percentage times average daily rate. So an example of this would be if you had a 100-room hotel, you would naturally multiply 100 rooms times 365 days, and you come up with 36,500 rooms total for the year. Then if you have, let's assume an occupancy percentage of 75%, you need to remember that that's 0.75 when you do the multiplication. And then let's just say we have an average daily rate of $50, which is pretty low, but it'll help us with the numbers. So we take the 36,500 times 0.75 times $50. So this hotel is scheduled to generate $1.368750 million over the course of this annual budget. Another thing to remember is in terms of short-term planning functions, the number one thing is to forecast room availability. So long-term, it makes sense. You need to know how much money you're going to make. Short-term, it makes sense. You need to know how many rooms you have to sell. There's a few things that you need to take into consideration when you're determining your short-term availability. One is the hotel's history. How have you done in the past few months? And also, how have you done year-to-date to make sure, like especially with holidays and such, to make sure that your holiday season is still keeping up with last year's holiday season. What kind of trends do you have in your reservations? Also, in terms of scheduled events, what's going on in the city? Is there a big sporting event? Is there a convention? Is there a concert? Because that's gonna impact your occupancy. And also with your group pickups, to see the groups that you have that have made reservations, are they picking up the number of rooms that they had originally reserved? So you need to look at all of these. The other thing that you need to look at is some forecasting data information. So 4 things that we're going to look at here are your no-show rate, which is guests who make a reservation but do not arrive. Your walk-in rate, which is guests who don't make a reservation but come in. And then your overstays, who are people who stayed longer than they were supposed to, and your understays are people who stayed shorter than they were supposed to. Both of these, an easy way to take care of both of these is when guests check in, is to have them initial their departure date, so you can make sure that there aren't any discrepancies at that point. Sometimes people's plans change and they have to stay longer or shorter than they intended, but if you check the departure date at arrival, that can help sometimes. So for each one of these, we're going to go over the calculations. So for the number of no-shows, you take the number of rooms that no-show, people who made reservations that don't come, and you divide that by the number of reservations. This helps you determine, you as a front office manager, determine if you want to take walk-ins. So if you have a low no-show percentage and you're close to being sold out, you probably don't want to take walk-ins. You want to just kind of try to balance it to get a perfect sell. If, on the other hand, you get a lot of walk-ins, you could not take as many reservations and count on the walk-ins to help you get the perfect sell. So for walk-ins, you take the number of walk-ins, people who on a regular basis make or come to the hotel but don't make a reservation, divided by the number of room arrivals, total room arrivals. And this, once again, helps you determine if you should take the walk-ins or not. All of this is really easy if you're operating a hotel at, say, like 65, even 75% occupancy, because it doesn't really matter. You'll take people as much as you can. But when you're at 100% or even oversold, then you have to really worry about the no-shows and the walk-ins. And then understays and overstays, it's the same formula. Basically, it's overstays divided by expected checkouts, and then it's the understays divided by expected checkouts. Many hotels will actually charge people if they stay shorter periods of time, especially over the holidays. For example, on New Year's Eve, a lot of places you would have a 3-day minimum stay, and if you left after 2 days, they would still charge you for that third day. So with this, what we can come up with is a room availability formula. So when you come to the hotel every day, you would check the computer, and the computer would do these calculations and tell you how many rooms you had left to sell on any given day. So what it's looking at is the total number of guest rooms, then your out of order rooms, taking those out of the inventory, then stayovers, obviously people who are staying there, you would take out the reservations, and then you take out a percentage of the reservations of what your no-show is, what through your history at that hotel on an average day, what percentage of the reservations don't typically show up. Then if you had any understays and overstays, that gives you the total number of rooms available for sale. So let's try a quick example of this. So if we have a 150 room hotel and we had 5 rooms that are out of order, now we obviously have 145 we can sell. We have 45 stayovers, now we have 100 rooms we can sell. We have 50 reservations, now we have 50 rooms we can sell. However, we have a 10% no-show. So we take 10% of the 50 reservations and add that back in. So now we're back to 55 rooms to sell. Let's say we had 5 understays, so now we have 60 rooms to sell. And let's say a big group had to stay, and their plans changed, and we had 20 overstays. So that would be 60 minus the 20. So we would have 40 rooms left to sell in this 150 room hotel, which is pretty easy night. Like I said, you can take walk-ins or you don't have to worry too much about no-shows, because with 40 rooms to sell, you're not going to oversell. So that's the first part of the functions of management. In the next section, we're going to talk about how to estimate room rates.